Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Brew Review, a Commander deck building podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Cody, alongside my best friend, Laz.
Hello.
What's up, buddy?
Nothing much, man. How's it going?
It's going good. It's going good. We're recording on an evening or an afternoon. What is the difference?
Afternoon. The
Afternoon.
sobering sunlight of Saturday.
I must say, yeah, we usually record when it is pitch black outside. I am currently looking at the sun, so that's kind of nice.
Cody woke me up from my afternoon nap to record, so I'll try to perk up a little bit, by the end of the episode here. Give the people what they want.
Hey, I mean, we were trying to get games in tonight potentially, so I was like, hey, why don't we just record now? Everyone's home, so it'll be good.
Oh, it works. We have been playing more. We're trying to play more too. I think it's working, so it's a sacrifice I'm willing to make.
Yeah,
I'm a grown-ass man. I don't need naps.
Who needs naps? Actually, I almost took a nap this morning, even after I woke up. It was like an hour after I woke up, and I was like, I might lay back down. I might go back for a little nap ski.
That is my favorite thing to do. And Kim, my wife, just doesn't understand. I'm like, no, my ideal day is like wake up, have coffee, have breakfast, play on my phone for like 20, 30 minutes, and then go lay back down for another hour and a half,
That sounds nice, yeah.
That was it,
so amazing. I understand. But yeah, hey, we played Magic the other day. Got to try out some new decks. Laz here building CEH decks.
That's right. I'm tired of losing.
It was an insane game. You were playing Arabella, the new doll commander from Dustborn.
Yeah, which we might do an episode on that too, because I really enjoyed that deck, and I'm sure spicy. there's some room for improvement, but that was a lot of fun. That was a good game.
You were popping off. It was turn 4, and you dealt 21 damage to the whole table, and I went, oh fuck, we got it. And I'm playing a new deck where I'm like trying something new out, and I'm like, oh, I don't know if I should have played this deck in this moment. Oh shit.
Well, I wasn't sure how it was gonna go. It was my first time playing it, so no one there had really seen Arabella before, so I was just kind of doing my thing, and showing up, I turned 4. I had a bunch of tokens out and just swung at one person and did a bunch of damage around the table.
Yeah,
gained a bunch of life, and it was good.
It was spicy.
You counterpicked.
I did not counterpick. Okay,
you counterpicked. It's fine. It's fine.
I did feel bad in that moment because I drew it, and I was like, "Oh, this is the card last said we could never play against him. Like we house banned it, and I feel so bad. It is coming out of that deck.
No, it's not. You're keeping it in there.
It's that Screaming Nemesis. It's from Dustborn. It's like if it gets dealt damage, you can then ping somebody. And if it deals damage to a player, that player can no longer gain life for the rest of the game. And so you had already gained, you gained 7, and then you gained 10.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was like you were in the 50s because we were still swinging back at you, but it was insane. I was like, oh my God. So it was like, okay, I got to play this because if not, you're just going to keep gaining life. And then you played that Pegasus spell that makes Pegasus equal to your life.
I made 30 1/1 Pegasus flying creatures, and
so it was like game over at that point.
Yeah, that was good stuff.
It was good. Yeah,
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, hey, it was cool to see. It was very much like, oh shit. And afterwards, you were like, this might be like a very fast deck. This might be one of those decks I only play against Mike, and I was like, okay,
yeah, I'm fine with that because even last night we were trying to play, and our friend Mike only plays just salty decks. And he's like, all right, well, if you're going to play that, I'm playing Voja. Like, why? He's like, I'm just playing Voja. It's the only deck I'll play against that. I'm like, you haven't even seen this deck yet. Why don't you see it first and then make that decision?
Yeah. And then we might be playing tonight, so it should be a good time. But hey, couple housekeeping things, and then we'll get into what the episode's about today. We have started the Discord channel we mentioned a while back. There's going to be a link down in the description. We already had some people join from the last episode where I threw the link in, but we never talked about it because that episode was recorded before I made the Discord server official. So I threw it in there just as if people are paying attention to the show notes, they'll get an early access thing. So yeah, if you want to join in there, we got people talking about Magic. We're going to look to try to get some games in over the holidays probably. So definitely join in there. It'll be a good time.
Absolutely.
And yeah, that's really the only piece of housekeeping. Foundations is a new set that came out. As of recording this, it came out yesterday, officially on the Friday. when you're listening to this, it came out the previous Friday. Les, you went to the pre-release stuff and bought some stuff, didn't you?
Yes, I did. Bought a pre-release pack. I even bought my very first collector booster pack.
Oh, okay.
I'd never pulled the trigger on a $30 pack of cards before, so
I love the collector booster packs.
oh, it's very cool. But man,
they're expensive. Yeah,
they're expensive. But man, it pulled some good cards. It's a fun set. There's a lot of good cards in the set. There's the mythic and rare cycles, very good, and even a lot of the art treatments on some of these cards. There's cards that have the normal version, then the borderless full art version, and then a guest appearance, artist version, and then different types of effects on the card. Like they have lots of bling that you could put on the different cards and stuff. So it was very cool. I enjoyed it. I even bought another bundle today at Target.
Oh,
tell my wife if she asks the price of dog food went up $40.
Yeah. We'll probably not talk about it too much here, but I bought that Marvel bundle when it came out on the Secret Lair stuff,
okay.
and I told
Show
Madeline,
off.
I was like, I'm not buying any more like packs of cards for the rest of the year because it was $200, and I was like, I can't be dropping money like that. Not with bills and stuff, and so I've been resisting the temptation, but I do have like some credit in some stores at manapool.com. I have credit, and I've been like, oh, I should just buy singles, but like, it's crazy to think like 4 months ago, I thought it was just going to be like a basic set of cards, and I was like, oh, I don't got to buy anything from that. But there's so many bangers in this set.
When spoilers first started, you're like, oh no, I might end up buying some of these. Like, yeah, no shit. Of course you're gonna buy these. You buy everything.
I do.
You bought the Clue set. All right.
Okay. All right. I thought I'd be able to play Clue with people, but that has not happened. So
how'd that go?
I'll bring it up to New York next year. We'll play the Clue set.
Just send up Colonel Mustard and
okay,
and Apothecary White, and
that's all you want.
Those.
Okay, sure.
Just one.
I don't need them. But yeah, I've been holding strong. I haven't bought anything. I was at Target the other day, and I was like, it was the day before, and so I was like, oh, I'll go walk by the cards section to see if maybe they put stuff out early. And there was like a bunch of Dustmore stuff, and I was like, I'm gonna buy a pack of Dustmore, and I'm like, no, hold strong, Cody.
We'll
see if it lasts.
I'm revenge buying product now because I didn't get the secret layers. I tried. I was one of those people who waited online, and when I got there, everything was sold out. And then, they had like one thing left. I added it to my cart, and by the time it went through the whole process, it's like, that's gone too.
Yeah.
So
it was.
I got nothing.
We'll talk about it. It was a shit show.
Yes, it was.
The second that button turned from going live in 2 seconds to add to cart, I was clicking the add to cart. And I waited in that line for 4 hours. It kicked me out, said that the bundle was gone that I clicked on. And so then I started like panic clicking everything to see what I could get. And I was able to get the non-foil bundle. Probably like one of the last ones available. Because I think the second after I bought it, like everyone's like, oh, the bundles are all sold out.
Mm-hmm.
It was a shit show. I don't understand the logic behind limited print on that. Like that should have been a print to demand.
Absolutely.
You would have made
something like that.
You would have made so much money. Instead, you just pissed off a bunch of people who never want to buy Secret Layers ever again now.
Right.
So it's like,
well, it's
ridiculous.
If they have another Marvel Secret Layer now, it's like, well, I'm not even going to attempt it. I just got so frustrated. I'm just not even going to attempt next time.
Yeah.
I'll just print the cards at home.
And it especially sucks because, like, when they were like, oh, we're doing a Marvel set in 2025, everyone's like, oh, they're going to, like, just do a giant, like, Lord of the Rings set, where it's just, instead, I think what they're doing is they're piecemealing stuff.
Yeah.
Like, Spider-Man's getting a full set, to my understanding. I don't know if it's a secret layer. Oh, there's a full set?
No, that's the full set. It's a Spider-Man set.
So it's like, okay, so these 5 legends probably aren't going to get reprinted until the next year, the year after that. And it's like, that's just shitty that there's going to be exclusive commanders. And I got them, so like I don't have a leg to stand on, but like it is shitty to everyone else. I understand that unless you're proxying these, you don't have the official cards, and it's like, that sucks.
Yeah, well, I've been saying it for like 2 years now. I said as soon as they have like an X-Men set and X-Men whatever, I'm spending all the money. I tried. I was trying to give them money. I really was, Cody. They didn't want it.
They didn't want it. It's so weird. It's
No.
just a weird thing. But anyways, in light of that, Foundations has come out. Foundations has been like such a breath of fresh air. I feel like everyone is excited about it. It's really
Mm-hmm.
cool. There's like the starter kit that comes with like 300 cards that you can just give somebody who's new to the game, and like they can either learn how to play standard, they can learn to make commander decks with it. Like it's really awesome because
Mm-hmm.
like I see. I've only been playing Magic 2 years, but to my understanding, there used to be these starter kits that they made where there was something similar where like you would get like a couple decks or something,
I
and people would
never
learn to play that way.
I never bought any of those, so
Okay,
I don't really know about.
I
I never
gotcha.
messed with that. Um, I just thought it was nice. I opened up the bundle today, and there was a bunch of lands in there. It's like, oh yeah, I remember when they used to give you
Just
just
lands.
cellophane packs of lands. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like they stopped doing that. It used to be 10
Um.
packs and a thing of lands and a foil card, but then they got cheap, so they're slowly getting back up there after raising
Yeah.
the price.
And like what's especially cool is that the talk is that they're at most reprinting this for the next 5 years, but then there's talk it might go on past that. So like these cards are always going to be available, and so prices are crazy right now,
Hmm.
but hopefully they will drop down.
Well,
Um.
and that's why I'm thinking they did so many different treatments on the foils
Mhm.
and guest spot artists and stuff like that was just because you know uh, it's going to be printed for a while. You're going to need at least some chase cards, so
Yeah.
people have an incentive to buy a collector booster or something like that. So that's smart,
Yeah.
to
It
see
is.
how
Yeah.
it works out. I'm glad to see some of these cards. The doubling season is going to be printed into the ground, so
Yeah. That'd be nice.
that's going to be very nice.
But yeah. So in the spirit of Foundations, Laz and I got to talking. We are like, well, why don't we each build a deck that's like a beginner commander deck? Because obviously we always want more people playing commander.
Hmm.
And so we both sat down. We both built a deck that we felt like, okay, a new player could pick this up, kind of get a basic mechanic going, and go from there. And so today we're going to go over those. We're not going to do the cuts and ads like we usually do. It's really just each of us are going to talk about the deck, kind of go over like what it's about, the theme of it, and all that. Laz, why don't you kick it off
No,
with yours?
sure. Well, I have a daughter. She is 8 years old, and I'm trying to get her into Magic. So this was this is kind of why we were coming up with a suggestion for this, because I was like, I want to build her a commander deck. She kind of got the idea of how to play with standard, but a commander deck, I feel that we can build for it to be her own. I think that would kind of really help her want to play commander more. So the commander I picked from the new set is a Rabo, the First Fangs, and this is a Cats deck. So I figured this is great because it's very simple, straightforward. It's all cats, um, lots of tokens, but pretty much the idea with this was a very straightforward deck that doesn't have a lot of gimmicks, a lot of tricks. So I kind of made a deck like I normally would, and then I specifically went through and took out cards that had way too much confusing text, or took out cards that had weird abilities that are not very common, or that you'll
Yeah.
never see again. I tried really hard to not have like planeswalkers. I didn't do any cards that had different types of effects that might confuse a newer player. This is very much so just a straightforward cat token deck. And I actually played it the other night.
Yeah.
When we played, it lost, but because I was playing against a Nekusar and a Joda and something else.
I think the
Yeah,
call was we got 40 minutes, play a fast deck, and Les goes, I'm gonna play this cat deck.
I'm gonna play the cat deck. Well, because I just wanted to see it. I just wanted to make sure it like did the stuff,
Yeah.
and it did. It
Yeah,
did.
yeah.
It didn't win, but I was definitely in the game. I was making lots of tokens. I had lots of cats out there.
Yeah, for
So,
sure.
yeah, that was pretty much the idea behind the deck. So the commander, like I said, is a Rabo the First Fang. It's 2 generic and a white for a legendary cat avatar. It's a 2/2, and its effects are other cats you control get +1/+1. Whenever a Rabo or another non-token cat you control enters, create a 1/1 white cat creature token. So simple. Play lots of cats. Each cat makes another cat, and they get counters. So this kind of will help teach newer players about token generation, and about tokens, and counters and stuff like that. I did have a couple. I'd say the weirdest thing I did in here is have just some bounce effects, like some blink, some bounce, just a little bit, not too many. Where I had like 4 of those, but just to kind of double up on some of those effects. But yeah. So let's see. How do you want to do the breakdown here, Cody? What are you thinking? What's the best
I
way?
figured
We're
just
not
kind of
doing.
go through and let's talk about like
Yeah.
because like obviously Arabo is very simple to build around, just put cats in and stuff like that. But you can only do so much with just cats and tokens. Like you got to have like some, you have a life gain package in here. Like let's talk about that, things like that.
Okay. Yeah. Well, so I've been accused of only making life gain decks, which is not true. However, there is some life gain in here, just because that's what cats do. A lot of these cats have life gain effects on them. So just kind of going through some of the other creatures that kind of help in this deck. Let's see. Got like Prideful Parent. That's one of the newer cards. It's a cat. It's a 2/2 with Vigilance. And when this creature enters, create a 1/1 white cat creature token. So this is, one of those cards that you're able to play. It comes in, it makes a token, and then the card itself makes another token.
Yeah.
So just lots and lots of token generation here. And I'm switching back to Moxfield. I'm trying to go through this on Architect, and I'm getting confused because I can't see any of my cards. It's broken into all these weird things here. As far as kind of let's see, life gain. So like I said, we do have some life gain stuff in here. I have a Johnny's Pride Mate, which is probably one of my favorite cards in Magic. It's so simple, but 1 generic and a white. Whenever you gain life, put a 1/1 counter on a Johnny's Pride Mate. This is one of those cards in the deck that's just gonna really help, because I have 10 different cards in here. 9 of them are creatures that care about life. They have life link, or whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 2 life. That's Healer of the Pride. So I have a lot of cats in here that when they enter, they give you life, or they have life link themselves. So I kind of, like I said, I wanted to build something simple and straightforward, but definitely a jumping off point where, I kind of like how this deck gained life, or I kind of liked how this deck made tokens, or that I was able to make my small creatures larger. It kind of 3 different routes to go for when someone plays it, to say, well, maybe when I do my next deck, I would want to lean more into this path. Yeah. So I kind of had a couple different ways there. So what other life gain things do I have on here? Light of Promise, the enchantment, 2 generic and a white, where you enchant a creature, and whenever you gain life, you put that many 1/1 counters on that creature. That's a life gain staple, but that's definitely something that's gonna, showcase about enchanting the right creature and still trying to gain life, so you can really grow one creature and swing in with them. And then just a personal favorite, Felidar Sovereign in here, which is the 4 generic white vigilance lifelink cat. But at the beginning of your upkeep, if you have 40 or more life, you win the game. That's just that'd be a fun way for a new player to win the game, and it's incredibly easy to do in Commander.
Yeah, it is. It is nice to. I think it is nice to sit down and teach it a new player. Like, hey, there's not just you don't just have to beat face to win a game. There are other win cons out there, and this is a nice one card that if they ever see it, they're like, oh, can I build around this? Can I like just build a whole life gain deck and have this in the deck? So
Absolutely,
it is nice.
I was told I'm not allowed to put
Aetherflux
Reservoir in here.
No, that's not. Let's not do that.
Why
that's
not?
too much. I think the whole like getting to fit. There's also the storm component of that card that I think would be a little bit confusing for a newer player. I pay
attention to that though.
Might have won you some games. I think the best part about these beginner decks is that like we're going with single color, and so the land base is super simple. I know as like a newer player when I was getting into it, like I got that Naya precon right away,
Mm-hmm.
and all the color fixing I had to do was just like it was too much at times. And so I like that like your land package here is just 34 planes, a reliquary tower, a
Animal Sanctuary,
animal sanctuary because you have all cats, so you can put
and
a counter on something,
and
and
I
that teaches like the
yeah,
fundamentals of like okay, there are lands that have abilities, so we can
there's
use
utility lands and
utility lands.
idyllic
Yeah,
range. Um, idyllic range enters the battlefield tapped unless you control 3 or more other planes, and when it enters, put a 1 counter on target creature you control. So just very very simple lands.
yeah.
Same thing with the ramp. I did very very simple ramp. I did just very. Let me see where my ramp stuff is here. Sorry. It's for some reason it's below lands on architect. I don't like architect coding.
I'm sorry, I like it for
Not,
its packages, but yeah,
for ramp, Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, that's standard everywhere.
yeah,
Marble Diamonds, just another simple mana rock. I put Pearl Medallion in there since those are so cheap now. Absolutely love it. Just makes all your white spells one less to cast. So just kind of very simple, straightforward things that you're going to be seeing a lot of in your Magic career, or whoever you're showing this to, that they're going to see a lot of, and chances are the person sitting across from you at the table is also going to have an Arcane Signet and a Soul Ring. So they'll kind of learn the staples of Magic. So I want to include a lot of that stuff. Same thing with like removal. It's got the Swords to Plowshares. It's got a Path to Exile. It's got a lot of the very generic staple cards that you're going to see when you're playing against a white deck. So I just tried to keep it as simple as possible. Let's see, for token generation, I had Felidar Retreat in there. That's the landfall effect of creating a 2/2 white beast, or whenever a land comes in, put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. So that's kind of something else that's really, one, going to help the deck, but two, just very straightforward, teaching them a little bit about landfall. Whenever you play a land, this is going to happen. I've Leonin War Leader. It's 2 generic, a white and a white. Whenever Leonin War Leader attacks, create 2 1/1 cat creature tokens with lifelink, tapped and attacking. So that's also going to show them, attack triggers and things like that. So, yeah, that's it for tokens here. Like I said, I also put a little bit of blink in here just because it really helps with some of these cats. It really does. So those, let's see, where are they? Blink. Yeah, I have like Cloud Shift, exile target creature you control, then return to the battlefield under your control. It kind of just, you have one of these creatures that when they enter, they make a cat, or when they enter, they put 1/1 counters. Just kind of show like, hey, look, you do that, and then you play this, you're able to bring it back to your hand, or bring it back to the battlefield, get the same effects. Same thing with Ephemerate, Felidar Guardian as well. So just different, very simple blink effects. Nothing too crazy with that, but something that'll kind of really help the deck.
yeah, and I think blink is like simple enough to explain. Like, okay, hey, it just disappears for a second and comes back. They're like, it is okay to have these, and the commander Rabo is it's really just a static ability. So like, it's something that can, and when it comes back in, it makes that token, and so that's something really easy to teach a new player. So yeah,
Yeah, and I'd say probably the only part of this deck that gets a little bit spicy. I put like Door of Destinies in here, which it's definitely the most expensive card in the deck, but
yeah,
for any type of tribal deck like this, it's going to be in every single one of those, just because it really is strong. It really is going to help. I don't think it's too confusing. It's definitely got some text. 4 generic artifact. When it enters, you choose a creature type, so you choose cats. And whenever you cast a spell of the chosen type, put the charge counter on Door of Destinies. Creatures you control the chosen type get +1/+1 for each charge counter on Door of Destinies. So yes, it's a lot of text. I was really trying to cut out these big text cards, but for this is a tribal deck. This is a tribal staple, you're gonna come across this a lot, and
Yeah.
it's best you learn how it works because you're gonna see it a lot, and it's very strong for this type of deck style. So I put that in there, but besides that, I don't really think there's anything too confusing or too tricky that I put in here.
Yeah.
Unless you see anything.
No, I think you. I mean, it's really simple. I think there's a lot of cards in here that can, lead to giving people ideas for future decks. Like you have, what is he? Kala, Ajani's Pridemate, the
Mm-hmm.
new legendary cat warrior that cares about lifelink. So if someone's like playing this deck and they're like, oh, I really like that life gain aspect. Like, I wish I had a commander for that. You have one in the deck that they could swap to and go, okay, well, I'll just trade out these cats for lifelink cards, and you have that as a backup commander almost in this. Quala is 3 and a white for a cat warrior. Whenever Quala attacks, each other attacking creature you control gets +X/+O until end of turn, where X is the number of counters on Quala. And Quala has whenever you gain life, put a 1/1 counter on Quala, and it has an ability 3 and a white, you gain 1 life. So you have that kind of, in standard precons these days, there's a backup commander always, and so you kind of have that almost in Quala. So that's really cool.
Yeah. What else I kind of put in here, which I think helps, is I put a couple of these cats that have effects that will help you in the game getting rid of other things. Like Enlightened Ascetic is 1 generic and a white for a cat monk, and when it enters the battlefield, destroy target enchantment.
Yeah.
I have Felidar Cub, 1 generic and a white for a 2/2 cat. You're able to sacrifice this, destroy target enchantment. So I have like 3 or 4 of these cats in here that when they enter or when they die, you're able to target someone else's artifact or enchantment and stuff like that. So kind of showing that sometimes, you want to swing in with something that you know is going to die, or you want to block with something knowing it's going to die because you're getting a secondary effect off of that. And really, at the end of the day, you're just kind of caring about casting that card and making the token. So if you sacrifice it to get rid of someone's enchantment, that doesn't really hurt. It's not as bad as it seems that you're losing a creature. I was trying to explain this to my daughter, this deck, and like I said, so she learned how to play standard somewhat with my brother-in-law, and she's like, "Oh, so what does the deck do?" I'm like, "Oh, it makes lots of cat tokens." And I showed her one of the cat tokens. She's like, "It's a 1/1, so the deck's not going to be that strong." I'm like, "It's a lot of 1/1s, and you can make some of these 1/1s bigger." And so I'm very excited to actually build this with her and sit down with her and show her that yes, it's a lot of these 1/1 creatures, but if someone has 5 huge things and they swing in at you, you'll just chump block and then turn around and swing 20 tokens at them, and you're still kind of ahead of the game as if you're playing with this. So
Yeah.
Let's see. I think I had one more spicy card I put in here that you were complaining about. What is it? What's its name? I forgot its name.
I believe it is Leonin Arbiter.
Leonin Arbiter. There we go. 1 generic and a white. You'll notice the theme. A lot of these cards, very inexpensive mana costs. This is a slow and steady. I want to make sure that you're not, having these huge creatures you can't cast. But this is 1 generic and a white for a 2/2 cat. Players can't search their libraries. Any player may pay 2 mana for that player to ignore this effect until end of turn. This is not that bad of a card as it seems. It is not stacks, as Cody called me out for putting stacks in the deck. But this is very much so a mono white deck. And if you're letting, the green player ramp out of control and play a million things, you're going to start to fall behind a little bit. So I figure, you know what? I didn't put any cards in the deck that have any search abilities. There might be 1 creature that has a search ability, but that's it. I'm like, might as well throw this in there just so, it can kind of even the playing field. I'm hoping she doesn't do this and say, "Ooh, is there a deck I can build that just makes it so people can't do things?"
It's just a stacks deck.
It's
Grand Arbiter Augustus coming at you hot.
Yeah, but like, no, it doesn't exist, honey. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, yeah, I think it's fair to have at least 1 card. It's healthy to teach people, and like a similar thing, you have a skull clamp,
Mhm.
which for some people, skull clamping a 1/1 token is like, well, that's not good. What the hell? But it does teach people about sacrifice, which can lead them to searching up aristocrats decks, things like that. So you have a lot of avenues
Yeah, and
to
it's
teach
card draw.
people.
You
It's
know,
card
it's
draw.
it's
Yeah,
it's kind of nice that hey, so I can get rid of one of these tokens and turn it into 2 cards. That's so helpful, and it's
yeah,
is one of the cards that was in my first deck, so it kind of taught me because when I first started playing, I was like, well, you need to have as many creatures on the board at all times.
yeah.
So why am I sacrificing creatures? I just didn't get it. Like, why would I want something of mine to die? And then as you start to play, you realize, well, sometimes there's more value in cards in hand than cards on the board. 2, you don't want to overcommit and fill the board because there are board wipes. Speaking of which, I don't think I put any board wipes in this deck. Did I? I
You
put one,
have one or
2.
two.
Yeah, I put 2 board wipes.
Yeah,
I'm okay with that. Put austere command, just normal staple card, but very helpful, especially in this deck because it's got a destroy all creatures mana value 4 or greater. I don't think there's a single creature in this deck that's 4 or greater mana cost.
there's a
No,
few, but a lot of
one.
your stuff
No,
is lower,
yeah,
and the fact that
very
tokens are
few.
0 mana value,
Right,
so
and
it's not as bad.
I put everything comes to dust. This one's a little confusing, but it's the 7 generic white, 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 but it has convoke. So kind of showing like, hey, your tokens that you have that are just sitting there not doing anything, you can kind of
Use
use
them.
that to
Yeah,
cast this one spell, and it's exile all creatures except those that share creature type, the creature that convoked it. So that's fantastic.
yeah. I like the deck class. I think it is very new player friendly. I think it helps a lot to just have a very simple theme around it. So yeah, I like it.
Thank you. It was fun to play the other night, and if we
Yeah,
play tonight, if you play your new deck and I play this, maybe
yeah,
we'll see if other people can play stuff that doesn't suck.
yeah.
Don't go up against a Joda and a Nekisar, and we'll see how it goes. But
We'll see how it goes.
yeah,
Yeah.
and the best thing about this deck, very inexpensive. You can build this thing for like $100.
Yeah, currently on manapool.com, you can buy this whole deck for $96.43.
Yeah.
So we'll have a link to the deck list below where you can just plug that into Manapool, and I think that includes the lands. So if you take out the lands, that's even cheaper.
Yeah, take out the land. Like it's a very simple, straightforward deck. It's inexpensive to play, to buy. It's easy to play. Like I said, I'm excited to build this. I'll build this with my daughter and kind of use this to show her how to play. Maybe I'll even try to show my wife how to play too. Figure it'd
Oh,
be
there you
easy
go.
to get them to play when all the cards are lions or this helpful hunter, this brand new common from Foundation.
Yeah,
Cute little kitty with a little feather in its mouth. Just adorable.
just adorable.
It's one generic and a white. When this creature enters, draw a card. That's just a cute card that gets you a card, gets you a token. Maybe that's what you blink in and out to draw another card, make another token. There's
There you
options,
go.
Cody.
There's options, yeah. I like it. All
Well, how
right.
about you? What'd you come up with? What do you
So
got?
my first deck was a lands matter deck. So I was like, let's do a little lands matter deck. I think that would be fun to give it to a new player.
For the record, this wasn't the original deck you were
No, it was
supposed to
not.
build.
I thought we were going to talk about this.
This wasn't even the second deck that you were originally going to build.
So originally, when Laz and I were discussing this podcast episode, he wanted to teach his daughter how to play, and I wanted to teach my little sister how to play. And so I had sent my little sister a couple cards, and I was like, "Hey, pick out one of these. Tell me what you like the best, and we'll go from there." She picked out Third, Mare of Destiny, which is a new horses, unicorns, Pegasus matter deck, where you play them and you get copies, and then all of them get +1/+1. The issue is that there's not a lot of good horses, unicorn, or Pegasuses. There's some alright ones, but a lot of them have either no text or a crap ton of text that don't matter. And so I just didn't really like the idea of it. Also, you were doing mono white. I kind of wanted to step away from that. So then
because I was going to do Third to start, And then
Yeah.
I was like, all right, fine, you do Third, and I'll do the Arabo. And then after I built this deck, you're like, I'm not doing Third anymore. It's like, well, I would I would have done it. So that's still an option, but no. And the problem also with that is, it's like what, $18 right now, or
Some
it's
of
like
these jumpstart commanders, because jumpstart is weird, where you never know what you're going to get. Some of them are kind of pricey right now, and so like that threw we want to keep these below $100, and so that kind of threw a lot of the pricing like out the window. So yeah,
I think you came out with a much better deck because of it. Because,
I think
like
so.
you
Yeah,
said, there aren't really any good horses, Pegasus, or unicorns. That's why I wanted to build for my daughter too, because she loves unicorns.
yeah,
And I don't know, all the good unicorns are like Selesnya colors too. So
yeah. That's the thing. Yeah, there's a
it's
lot of
really
Selesnya
weird
unicorns.
that
Yeah,
they wouldn't put a green pip on that card just to kind of expand
somewhere. Yeah,
your
yeah. I don't get it.
selection. But whatever.
Um, but instead, maybe I built a land deck. I'm pretty happy with it. This is Braulios of Pheres Band. It is 3 generic green for a Centaur Scout. Uh, Braulios power and toughness are equal to the number of lands you control, and whenever Braulios attacks, draw a card, then you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. So this is like that the Morrow Sorcerer kind of line where like your creature's power and toughness are equal to the number of lands you control. So at
Mm-hmm.
base, at 5 mana, you're gonna have a 5/5. Um, and it's a lands matter deck, like where there is a very big landfall package. There's only 9 cards, but there's a lot of creatures that care about lands in some capacity. And so similarly, like the deck is built around just playing tons of lands, keep searching your deck for lands. I feel like that was something pretty simple to pick up for a lot of players, because it's such a key component of Magic. The thing I didn't want to do is put very confusing cards like Laz didn't want to. So like there's a notable like I didn't put Scoot Swarm in here because I was like Scoot Swarm can get out of control way
Mm-hmm.
too quickly in mono green, and I didn't want that to get because I feel like at that point when you're making copies of Scoot Swarms over and over and over and
Yeah.
over, that just didn't feel right. Um,
I know for me, one of the baselines I tried to do with the deck, the cat deck there, was I didn't want any uh abilities that I would have to read the card for. Like, I know what Vigilance does, I know what Lifelink does. Embalm, I am not so sure of, and
yeah,
like, Monstrous, and like, oh, it's like, okay, if I don't know what it does just off the top of my head from playing Magic, then I don't want it in the deck. So anything that you have to pick up the card 3 times while you're trying to figure out the rest of your turn, I try to keep out. And Scoot Swarm is definitely one of those cards that I've had in a deck before. And it's like, wait, hold on. All right, so I make a copy of this. So that means I make 2 more, but then I make another. It's like, it gets out of hand very quick.
yeah, yeah. And one thing I think I liked so much about that original Landfall deck for me was I wanted like big kind of splashy cards that a person could play, and like it was like, oh, this is really sick. There is also like a small like making tokens from a land entering, but I don't like a Rampaging Baloths is a very staple landfall card. It is 4 generic green for a 6/6 with trample. Whenever a land enters, make a 4/4 green beast creature token. I feel like that was a little simpler than the Screw Swarm scenario here. And there's a few of those. Like there's a new one from Foundations. It's Elf Sworn Giant. It is a 3 generic green for a giant with reach. Whenever a land you control enters, make a 1/1 green elf warrior creature token. It's a 5/3. I feel like those are okay because
Mm-hmm.
whenever a new player plays a land, they know, okay, hey, I'm making these tokens. Pretty simple to pick up on, things like that. So yeah. Similarly to Laz, my land base, it consists of 37 forests. I put a myriad landscape in there because I felt like it was a nice way to learn that, okay, hey, here's a land that sacrifices itself, but you go get 2 lands out of it. Not that bad. And then a utility land in Castle Garenbrig, where you can pay the 4, get 6 mana. Oh, a person's like, okay, hey, I'm making more mana than I'm putting into it. That's advantage. I can
Mm-hmm.
only use it for creatures, but there are some big creatures in this deck that, including your commander, you can
Well,
use
it's
that
green.
for. So yeah. Um, there are technically 28 cards that ramp you in this deck. You know, the basics of Nature's Lore, Rampant Grove, Cultivate, Kodama's Reach. I feel like those are pretty standard to put in there. I did put some mana dorks like Llanowar Elves, Finhorn Elves, I actually kept a couple of like more high costed ones with like Land War Visionary, which is 3 mana to tap for a green, but it draws you a card. So people learn that, if I play this card, I'm drawing a card and then it's also ramping me. So that's not too bad.
I like that you have literally, like, you could take, of these 28 ramp cards, you like 14 of these are in any other green deck at any given point, regardless
Exactly.
of strategy. They got the Arcane Signet, you got Cultivate, Elvish Mystic, Explore, Explosive Vegetation, what Kadama's Reach, Land of War Elves, Findor. Like, you got every single generic piece of ramp, whether it's creature, sorcery, instant, and that's good. Like same type of thing that I was going for, is that I wanted to showcase cards that are staples that you're going to be seeing a lot of, because I don't know, it's awkward for me playing Magic whenever I have to lean over the table and ask to see someone's card. That's why I like Spell Table so much, because I can just click on it.
Yeah.
But for a new player to play, all right, I'm going to play Rampant Growth, and then it's their turn, a turn or two later, and they're like, I'm going to play Rampant Growth. You don't have to say, what does that do? Like, no, I just did the same thing. I know what that does. So I like that for your deck.
I also like the cards where it's like Dawn Treader Elk and Secure Tribe Elder, where you're playing these cards and you're sacking them, because then it teaches a player about, oh, okay, well, there's not just like instant sorcery ramp, there's also creature ramp and things like that. I like those kind of spells you can put in here. And then so I wanted big payoffs for like, we're playing all these lands, but like what am I doing to win the game? Things like that. So one of my favorite ones is Crash of Rhino Beetles. This is 4 generic and a green for an insect with trample. Crash of Rhino Beetles gets +10/+10 as long as you can control 10 or more lands. I wanted that card to, like, you have this out on the field, you're like, oh, it's a 5/5, whatever. But the second you drop that 10 lands, like, oh, I'm swinging with a 15/15. That's not my commander. That's pretty cool. And similarly, Last March of the Ents. This is a newer one from Lord of the Rings last year. It's 6 generic green. This spell can't be countered like that. Draw cards equal to the greatest toughness among creatures you control. Then put any number of creature cards from your hand onto the battlefield.
Yeah, it's a great
Braulios
card.
is constantly getting bigger. So if you cast this for 8 mana exactly, like you have 8 lands out, you're drawing 8 cards, and then you're putting as many creatures as you drew it out there. And we have some very big creatures. I put in Multani, Yavamaya's Avatar. This is 4 generic green. It's the same thing. Multani gets +1/+1 for each land you control and each land card in your graveyard. So Multani has that ability where if you're playing against, let's say, a black deck that's making you discard as a new player, you're probably like, I don't like that discarding all my lands. But you have this Multani that is actually paying off from that. So I like that a lot.
And it shows some recursion too, like, oh wait, the graveyard's not the end all be all, of Magic. It's kind of, I can still pull from it. And that's one of the first things you kind of learn in Magic, is that the graveyard's pretty much just another resource, another pool to tap into. And it's better to learn that sooner rather than later, because I think my second commander deck that I ever played was the Lord Windgrace precon. And I was just like, man, I'm putting all my stuff into my graveyard. And it was just like, I would hold on to cards because I didn't want to sacrifice lands, or I didn't want to put lands into my graveyard. And, as I was a month or two into playing Magic, and then kind of as I start playing more, it's like, oh wait, I want stuff in there. That's clearly the whole point. So cards like this, just kind of little simple hints of, hey, just because it hits your graveyard doesn't mean you're not seeing it again. There's a lot of times you can easily get this stuff back.
Yeah. And in that same vein, I put Eternal Witness in here. There's probably a talk to put a little bit more recursion in the deck, just because there are so many like spells that you're just throwing away. But yeah. Another newer card from Foundations that I really liked, because this is like one of my favorite things in Magic, is when just doing a thing constantly grows a creature. Like, I love Mana Gorger Hydra, because when someone plays something, it grows. Mossborn Hydra is the same thing.
Mhm.
It's 2 and a green for a elemental Hydra with trample. This creature enters with a 1/1 counter on it, but then it has landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, double the number of 1/1 counters on this creature. It starts out as a 0/0. I love this because it teaches a player about 1/1 counters, which, hey, if they like double encounters, there's so many 1/1 counter decks out there. So I love that. And we have this Multani, we have Mossborn, we have our commander, we have the Crash of Rhino Beetles. So my draw package I put in this deck was really about, hey, we have big creatures, let's capitalize on that. So I have Risk Card's Expertise, which is 6 mana to draw a card equal to the greatest power among creatures you control. Then you put out a spell with mana value 5 or less. So let's say you draw 10 cards off Braulios, you draw into that Crash of Rhino Beetles, you can play Crash of Rhino Beetles for free. That's a great feeling as a new player. I love that.
Absolutely.
Return of the Wild Speaker. That 2-fold, you can either choose to draw cards equal to the greatest non-human creature you control, or non-human creatures get +3/+3. Very versatile because we have big creatures, we're going big, but there's a lot of landfall cards that make tokens, so that we can either also pump the board. So similar to you wanted different avenues for the cats. I wanted different, I wanted either, hey, we're either going tall with our commander and other creatures, or we're going wide with all these landfall things. And we're in green, so like if we get board wiped and anything like that, we get stuff removed, we have the mana to just rebuild and start again.
Which is nice.
Very nice, yeah. Momentous Fall, 4 mana. You do have to sack a creature, which, hey, that kind of teaches a little bit about aristocrats. But then you draw cards equal to the sacrifice creature's power, and then you gain life equal to that toughness. So our commander's constantly getting bigger. You're drawing cards and gaining life. You're getting back into the game. It's really good. And
it's an instant too,
It's an instant too.
It's kind of teach someone like, oh, you can block with that creature and then use this to kind of sacrifice it, and you don't take the damage, you gain the life, and you get to draw a bunch of cards. So
yeah,
sometimes
I like that a lot.
It's worth throwing creatures in front of blockers and stuff like that.
So a difference between our deck building, I did put a Planeswalker, and I think this comes from, so I bought those starter precons that came out last year, and I taught my girlfriend and some friends how to play Magic, and all of those decks came with at least one Planeswalker. Planeswalkers can be confusing. It was definitely something where when they played it for the first time, they were like, what is this card? Why are there numbers going up and down?
I wanted to put a Johnny in the cat deck, because Johnny is like my favorite Planeswalker. There's so many cool Johnny Planeswalkers, but I don't know. I find them confusing, too. And I did find them confusing. Not now. I'm a pro at Planeswalkers now. Now I know they're garbage. I just don't put them in decks. But
that's fair. Yeah.
I didn't put any of those in mine, but this is a very, very, very straightforward Planeswalker you put in.
So I put in Garruk Primal Hunter. Very standard. I think any green deck probably has this in a precon. So 2 generic, 3 green for Planeswalker Garruk. It's +1, make a 3/3 green beast creature token. Gives you a blocker right away to protect it. -3, draw cards equal to the power, the greatest power among creatures you control. Similar to the other effects I was putting in, I was like, okay, we're drawing cards. It teaches players about, well, sometimes I just want to hit that -3 right away. Like I'll pay the 5 mana to draw 7 cards because my commander's a 7/7. But it also has that reward for if they just keep +1ing it over and over and over. -6, create a 6/6 green worm creature token for each land you control. Big payoff. Something to like kind of strive for in a game. If a new player can get this off once, it's a memory they're going to remember. It's going to be like, okay, I love landfall because of this effect.
Can I build a deck of just Planeswalkers?
Okay, can I do a mono green Planeswalker deck?
So I'm okay with the Planeswalker. There's one card that I don't agree with in here. I know we're not doing cuts and adds, but
okay, no, go for it.
I know
we talk about your stacks card.
It's unfair. You have, was it Bose as you reaches Skyward? You have a Saga card in here.
Yeah, this is one that I was kind of pressed on, but so it's a Saga that exiles itself and then becomes a Morrow Sorcerer, pretty much. And so I was like, okay, I'm okay with it. It also does things. I agree with you. Saga can be confusing because it's something that happens after you draw. It's something that for a new player to have to constantly remember for 3
Mm-hmm.
turns if it stays around. So I can get that, but it does ramp us. It does um, put lands out onto the battlefield, and then it is a giant, potentially giant creature with reach. So if you're playing against a dragon deck, you have something that can block dragons.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the only reason I kept it in here, is that it is a Morrow Sorcerer in the long run, and it ramps you along the way.
No, that was my
So
only complaint, though. It
yeah,
was just that one, but no, I understand why. And the thing is, there's a lot of different cards in Magic, and they're keep on making new different types. And I
yeah,
think even in my deck, I had a flip or whatever, one of those MDFC cards. I had the
yeah. I also
Kabira
have one. Yeah,
takedown that it could be a land or it could be removal. So it's very hard not to include some of these stranger cards. But at the
yeah.
end of the day, you're going to see a lot of them. So,
I think the beauty is that we play a format that is 100 cards, and
mm-hmm,
so it might be 4 or 5 games before these players see these cards. And by that 5th game, you know, maybe okay. Wait, I guess I'm asking questions. Oh, here's a new card I haven't seen before. Hey, why does it have a land in the corner and I can play the land, but it enters? What's that about? It's like, oh, it's an MDFC.
mm-hmm,
There's a lot of cards like that where it's a creature, a spell on the other side, but then on the backside it's a land, just in case you need that land drop for turn. And so that kind of helps teach new players about that. Um, but yeah, I felt like, so mine, for example, is Kazandu Mammoth. It's a green and a green. On the front side, landfall, whenever a land enters, it gets +2/+2. It starts out as a 3/3. Pretty simple rate. Pretty
mm-hmm.
nice to, you play this for 3 mana, play a land, you suddenly have a 5/5. So that's kind of nice. But on the flip, it's Kazandu Valley. It enters tapped, it taps for a green. I feel like those are nice to kind of teach a new player about a different aspect of the game. Um, I think the only thing I think my deck is lacking, but I'd also want it as a deck where this is something that a new player could play it, or just a person who picks up the game in general, and go, okay, well, hey, I like these effects because they do things, but I want more of them. Let me cut cards that I didn't really find useful, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so Braulios can get as big as he wants, but he doesn't really have a surefire way of getting in for damage. So I introduced Rancor to the deck because it is a 1 green enchant creature. Enchant creature gets +2/+0 and has trample, and whenever it goes to the graveyard, it goes back to hand.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a nice way for teach a player about, okay, well, hey, here's something that it recurs itself. It gives my commander in a way to get commander damage in, things like that. I like that. Similarly, protection. I only put in Tamio's Safekeeping, which is 1 green for an instant. Target permanent you control gains hexproof and indestructible in turn, and you gain 2 life. I really like this card because it breaks down in a giant paragraph, which I know we don't want them reading too much, but it breaks down, if it's hexproof and indestructible, pretty much nothing's targeting it.
Right.
And I like that. I feel like it was a nice way to teach about protection in the game. I didn't put lightning greaves or boots in the deck. Because I remember when I was new, I was like, why would I want to pay this card? Yeah, it gives my stuff haste, and you had told me that haste makes things go faster, but then like I can't target it with spells later on, which because it has shroud. I
Right.
didn't like that. I
I
didn't want to
I've
put those. I feel like that gets confusing.
I had to pull Lightning Greaves out of a couple of decks after I had built them because I realized oh wait, I can't target my commander either. So
Yeah,
I had to swap out for Swiftfoot Boots in a couple different situations building
I
decks
th-
when I first
I
started.
I think one of those first decks I built was that Light Pulse deck, and I had lightning greaves in there, and I had put shroud on it. And I went, I can't target it with any of the enchantments I wanted to target it with now, and I have no other creatures out. Fuck. So I didn't want that. I didn't want that to happen to a new player. So
You do have an equipment in here though.
I do. I once again one of those cards where it's like I want players to learn about different things, and so equipment, and obviously this is like one of the best equipments in the world. It's Blackblade Reforged, 2 generic. Equip creature gets +1/+1 for each land you control. You can equip a legendary creature, pay 3 mana, or you can pay 7 to just equip it to a non-legendary creature. It teaches them about equipment. It helps your stuff gets bigger. it's a lands focused deck, so it just kind of rewards that. Hey, I'm playing more lands.
Mm-hmm.
I can make a 1/1 elf, an 8/8 out of nowhere.
Right. Well,
So,
it's just very exciting with some of this stuff because there's so many different avenues that you can go in Commander, and this is hold on, I could just put a bunch of equipment on one creature then and make them
yeah,
very hard to deal with and super strong. It's like yes you can do that, and it's just another path to show people different different play styles and trying to find that exact play style that someone's going to want when they're first learning how to play, because you don't know what you're going to prefer until you start to play it. Once you start to play it and you realize, you know what, I want to kind of go deeper into this direction. And I think both decks do a great job of showcasing different styles like that. Mine may be a little bit better, but I think both decks do. I think both decks do it good.
I think there is something to be said about tokens. Like Go Wide tokens is very new friendly. There's a green white starter deck that I gave to Madeline, and it's very much you tap a creature, that creature makes a token, and you just make these endless boards of tokens, and it was very easy to teach her with. So I like that a lot. I will say noticeable thing that I did not include in this deck. I didn't want a lot of. There's a lot of in green cards that mill like 3 cards and then you return lands. I didn't want that. I felt like that was a little too much.
Yeah.
But so similar to how you had that backup commander where if someone wants to pursue that lifeline thing, Multani is there for if someone wants to pursue that. Hey, there's lands in the graveyard. Multani still gets bigger. I can go search up those mill 3 cards, things like that.
We had like an entire episode of me trying to decide a good graveyard land commander, and we had talked about Multani and stuff like that. It's just a little too expensive for my liking, but it's one of those cards you're going to see a lot of, and it is a very popular play style, and that's a very popular commander for that play style too. So very easy for someone to be like, you know what, that Multani card, let's kind of take the same deck you have, which you can keep 90% of it, and just start focusing a little bit more on, let's put some lands in the graveyard and then see about doing things like that. So that's kind of like a good commander if they want to go that route with the deck. And this is a very easy deck to kind of switch around because you have so many generic green cards in this deck. You might as well name it Oops All Staples. That's really what the deck looks like, and that's fantastic. It makes green such an accessible color to play.
It is, yeah. And I think that's a lot of people teach people how to play with green. I mean, technically, before that starter deck, I had made Madeline a just mono green elf deck because it was okay. Elves are really easy to play. You play land, play an elf, play land, play an elf. So things like that. So
I was afraid that you're going to build an elf ball. Weren't you going to? You said you were going to try to do elf.
I was like, I'll do this, and I can do elf ball. And
I was like, don't do elf ball. It gets out of control so quick.
It does, yeah. Similarly to Laz, if you were to buy this deck on Manipool, it would be $84.15.
And I think
Braulios,
the majority
of those Jumpstart commanders, not that expensive.
I think the majority of your deck is all in the March of the Last Dance.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's a rather expensive card, but hey, as a way to teach new players about there are cards that people prioritize, and so they're very expensive. So yeah, but yeah.
I liked your deck, Laz. I liked your deck too. I think we play them against each other. I would like to try to see that. I don't know if we can find 2 other people that are willing to play low power
decks or precons
or precons.
Go run a precon at Mike's house real quick.
Yeah, I don't own a precon. Like you and Nick was like, oh yeah, I got this precon. Like I don't have I buy precons, I tear it apart, I pull the cards I want.
That's fair.
And yeah, he's got like sealed precons in his closet. I don't know why.
Never know. Never know when you need stuff.
Never know when we're going to see him. Oh, we should try it out. We should stream just a 1v1 commander game. Mono white versus mono green.
We could probably do it.
I'd get my ass kicked.
That French commander. I think you would overwhelm me. I think you. I mean, I would definitely have more lands out, but I think you would overwhelm with the cats. So
yeah, you have a lot. I would have to go through a lot of tokens to block your creatures and try to kill them. I think. Although you don't have any trample in this deck, right?
Not really. I tried to keep that stuff limited. So
okay. Well, so I like it. Good job, Cody.
All right. But hey, if you like these decks, they'll be down in the description below. We'll have the deck list for both of them. But yeah, this was a lot of fun, Lyle. I'm glad we got to do this.
Yeah, it was a little shorty episode. It's kind of just if you got anyone you know that you think you want them to play Magic, or they're interested in playing Magic, or it's just someone who hasn't played in a couple of years and doesn't really know what Commander is. This is a deck I would bust out for one of my cousins. People that played in the '90s and then don't know what Commander is. So like, I know the general idea of Magic. But all right, well, here you go. This is kind of like Commander 101. One of these decks is just this is what the format is, and I think we did a good job showcasing that.
I think so. Yeah. Definitely check out Foundations. A lot of cool stuff in there. Foundations Jumpstart, a lot of cool stuff. I'm excited. I think once the holiday season rolls around, I might try to grab some Jumpstart stuff and sit down and just play 1v1 with Madeline. I think it'll be a lot of fun. So
maybe I'll get my daughter. I'll see if her deck can beat my. I don't know what deck I'd play against her cat deck.
Not Arabella. Let me tell you that.
Not Arabella. Maybe my Volo deck. Just Volo crappy creatures.
Volo crappy creatures. Yeah. There you go. Little housekeeping end here. So next up episode is going to be our top 10 commanders of the year. We did it last year. It was a big success. A lot of people liked it. Laz will have 5 commanders. I'll have 5 commanders.
I'll make sure I read my number 1 commander's effects carefully this time, so I don't look like a moron again.
It was fun though to be like you were in the middle of talking about it, and then you went, "I think I misread this," and I had to cut that.
Did you cut it?
Though. I think so.
Oh, thank God. Yeah, well, that happens sometimes. You told me this past week. You're like, oh, I'm writing a deck review for a commander review, and you said you got through writing the whole thing, and then you realized that you misread the card, and you're like, so I just deleted it all and said the commander sucks.
Yeah,
don't use them.
So upset about that because I was like, oh, this fucking deck's gonna slap. Like I'm like this deck, and then I like went back and reread everything, and I went, that says target, not every. Damn it.
Yeah.
So it happens. No, it happens.
Make sure you read the cards. I will read the cards this time. Yeah. I know that's for sure.
But yeah. So that'll be coming up next. And then I think after that we'll have a year-end review. We'll go over all the commanders we talked about this year, talk if we built any of them, things like that. And I tracked all my games this year, so by then I'll have a pretty good, I'll break everything out into a spreadsheet, and we can talk about that a little bit. It'll be a good end of the year episode.
I did not track any games.
You're in 95% of these, so I think you're okay.
All right, good. I probably lost all of them.
No, I think you're on there winning a couple times, so yeah.
Really? Oh, I don't remember those. Those ones don't count.
Those don't count. Gotcha. Hey, if you want to reach out to us, I have deleted Twitter, so we're no longer on there. You can reach out to us in email at Brewitorscrewit@gmail.com. Join the Discord server. We're both in there. If you have any questions for us, last time we posted a deck list, someone started asking questions about have we considered this commander, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be fun. So yeah, definitely go in there, talk to us. It'll be the best way to reach out to us probably going forward.
Absolutely.
And yeah, thank y'all so much for listening. Until next time, these brews
have been reviewed. Fine. These brews have been reviewed.
Okay. Last time it worked. This time not so.
I know. I had it written down here.
Oh. Okay.